The CDC published a study covering the period of 2003 through 2014 about homicide being the leading cause of death for women under the age of 44. The study included a grim statistic. 55% of all women homicides were attributed to intimate partner violence. Our previous show looked into coercive control as one of the precursors of this violence. So the question is, are there early behavior patterns that are indicators of coercive control and abuse? And if so, what are the methods a woman can employ to verify those behavior patterns and determine the appropriate response before committing to a long-term relationship?
Often in this demographic, middle to upper income areas, the apology is often even missing. There's that sense of entitlement and this lack of reflection, self-reflection on his part, so that he's not really willing to admit that he's caused harm or pain or suffering. So that sense of entitlement, the lack of remorse, the lack of accountability, all of these things, once those are in place, then the next step is, what do I do about it?
My name is Jim Connor. Welcome to Game Changers Silicon Valley. My guest is Ruth Darlene, founder and CEO of Women of Silicon Valley, a nonprofit company dedicated to helping women break out of the relationship dominated by abuse and coercive control. Ruth, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jim. Pleasure to be here.
During our first show, you gave us insights into the extent and actions a woman can take to address abuse and coercive control. As part of your mission, you've decided to create a curriculum to help women identify control patterns before they commit to the longer-term relationship. Can you give us an overview of your insights and findings in this area?
Well, thank you, Jim. Yes, starting in January, we are launching 3 new support groups that will be, each one will address each of 3 different phases in a course of controlling relationship. And phase 1 is when you're just waking up to this new reality, recognizing that the person that you thought was that you were gonna love forever, the man of your dreams, is now slowly turning into your worst nightmare. And phase 2 is when you're in the relationship, you've been in it for some time, and you may also be in the court system, and you may have children that you're trying to protect as well through this whole process. And phase 3 will be for women who've been out for some time and are possibly exploring new careers, new relationships, having perhaps ongoing issues with their children as a result of that shadow that is still haunting them. So with these 3 different groups, we're hoping to address all the different phases of a woman's journey, from initial recognition to addressing it and finally overcoming it.
I'm very interested to know, on this coercive control, there are early signs of, of the method. I'll put it that way, early signs of the method. Can a woman, first, how does she verify that these are valid signs? And B, what action should be taken to, shall we say, decide it's a go, no go? Mm-hmm. In other words, give me some feedback and say, you got to clean up your act, you got to start acting much more correctly or appropriately, versus, or I can't stay in the relationship. How do you coach people in that area? Mm-hmm.
So the first step is recognition. That's step 1. And once they identify that there are signs of controlling behavior, the next step is recognizing how he responds when she points that out. And I think we talked about that in the earlier show. Does he acknowledge bad behavior? Does he apologize for it? And does he show by his behavior that he's willing to do better and be better? There is this story of the wise man, the fool, and the evil one. And with a wise man, you're walking down the street and he steps on your foot, and you point it out. He doesn't step on your foot anymore. He apologizes and you move on. With a fool, you're walking down the street and he steps on your foot, you point it out, and he may get defensive. He may put it back on you and say, what was your foot doing there? And then you can say, if you keep stepping on my foot, I'm not going to be able to walk down the street with you anymore. There's action you can take. So then you do withdraw your company from this person. And then when you meet him again, you walk down the street, he apologizes, had some time to think about it, he's examined his behavior, and now he's willing to try to do better and be better. He doesn't step on your foot anymore. You've taken action, he's acknowledged it and honored it, and your relationship grows. We're all imperfect, flawed human beings, and sometimes we will say and do things we will regret, and as long as we are holding ourselves and each other accountable, and we agree to do that, then there's always hope for that relationship. But what happens when you're walking down the street with the evil one? You're walking down the street with him, he steps on your foot, you point it out, he either steps on your other foot or says, what was your foot doing there, blames you, and almost seems to enjoy stepping on your foot. So what do you do with this type of person? That's when the remedy, other remedies come into play. Confronting him is not going to work. Attorneys, defense, various forms of defense, and getting the heck out as soon as you can.
It would seem that getting the heck out, backing away, is the most immediate, quick thing to do before you get involved in a relationship. But it's probably easier said than done. I have that impression because it seems to be this passive-aggressive behavior pattern that, oh, I'm so sorry, but I can keep doing the same behavior. Does that also occur?
Yeah. Often in this demographic, middle to upper income areas, the apology is often even missing. There's that sense of entitlement and this lack of reflection, self-reflection on his part, so that he's not really willing to admit that he's caused harm or pain or suffering. So that sense of entitlement, the lack of remorse, the lack of accountability, all of these things, once those are in place, then the next step is, what do I do about it? He has torn up his card, entitling him to know what she's thinking and planning and feeling, because those things, if he's a covert abuser, will be weaponized and turned against her. So the less he knows, the safer she'll be. So that's when she, if she's able to come to terms with the type of relationship this now is, not the man of her dreams anymore, that dream has died. And for her to get out safely, a step at a time, discreetly, backing away slowly, without giving evidence of what she's planning until she has all her allies in place.
How does a woman develop allies?
Slowly, carefully, one ally at a time, finding out in her community who are the safe people. If they have mutual friends, I would be very careful about disclosing what her thoughts or feelings are about the relationship, because we don't want word to get back to him before she's ready. If she has her own personal set of friends, one or two still left if he hasn't isolated her from them, she could start by disclosing her feelings to this friend and get a sense of, well, what is life like at your house? Is it normal for my husband to come in at 2 in the morning, pound the bed, and accuse me of all the things I've fallen short of during the day, or just because he feels like talking? Is it normal for me to be awake 2 or 3 hours in the middle of the night and then have to go to work the next day? No, that's not normal. So checking out her new, in quotes, normal with her friends, getting support, starting to maybe go to the library and doing some research online. What is coercive control? What are local resources? Thinking about her source of income, her financial reserves. Many times what happens is her partner will take control of the finances, say that she doesn't have the expertise that he does, or will say, here, let me do this for you, under the guise of helping. But I have many ladies who aren't even able to look at their income tax return. He signs it for them. So if she doesn't have a source of income, that's going to be the next stumbling block for her. There are places where you can go to get loans, and if they have property in common, then that can be a way to provide more income down the road.
So you're going to do a curriculum or a training course. Is this going to be online videos and articles perhaps, plus people talking about it? I just wondered how you're going to do this, if you thought that.
Yes, yes. There'll be a curriculum for each one of the 3 different phases of the woman's journey. The first part will be a 15 to 20 minute lecture. That will be also a podcast or a YouTube video. It'll be a chapter in the book that is going to go along with it. That book will be out in a little while. It's going to take a little bit of time, but we have the structure of the curriculum in place now. And the first part will be the monologue lecture, discussion, followed by sharing with the survivors that are coming to the group. It will be via Zoom. I look forward to the day when we're able to gather in person, but we are always wanting to do things safely.
Well, I think Zoom's a good way to go, or any online platform, because it's much more open to people outside the immediate area who can't drive, whatever schedule, and you can view it on your cell phone for that matter.
Yes, yes, but let me just say that it's not come one, come all. The process starts, if they reach out to us, with a 2-hour intake, followed by a 2-hour follow-up to see if we are the right fit for them, if they're the right fit for us. We do thorough risk assessment and safety planning on the different areas that they've come under attack. There's a couple of different assessments that we use, and so we really get to know this person before inviting them into our secret sisterhood. It's really an underground operation. We want to be careful who we invite in.
What type of person doesn't qualify? Maybe a hard question for you, but
Yes. Well, every now and again, let's see, I've worked with over 1,400 women, and every now and again I get surprised. And sometimes you meet a woman who's she's fine as long as you are helping her and agreeing with her. But if you object or if something happens that she doesn't like, then you can see another side to her too. So I am talking about coercive control perpetrated by men against women, but there are women who can have a Jekyll Hyde personality as well. And so when that gets revealed, then we're not the right place, because it's all about love, respect, kindness, even forgiveness. I mean, I'll make mistakes, we'll all make mistakes, but can we forgive one another and then not start to be verbally abusive? So that would be a disqualifier. Or one other thing though, if they are still dealing with a lot of emotion, a lot of anger, a lot of rage, or just not in a space where they can share time and space with the other ladies in the group, that's when personal therapy, individual therapy with a trauma-informed therapist would be a better starting place. And then when they've processed that and they're able to share space and time with the other ladies, then we can talk about joining the group.
Okay, so they join the group, they get into curriculum. They talk, they develop some friends, some allies, if you will. You have counselors available. What happens next? Does this enable them at a larger, scalable level to become independent? Is that the idea?
Yeah, so it's a journey. It's a pathway to freedom, and it's one step at a time. And for so many of our ladies, pieces of their lives have been stolen from them. And we want to think about how can they start to gain those pieces back. And sometimes it's just feeling like I'll never make it. I often say it's like getting involved with this type of relationship is like getting sucked into a cult, becoming a prisoner of war, and being possessed by a demon. You get all three for the price of one. And yet without physical wounds to show for it, it's so hard to get help and support, especially coming from our type of demographic. So getting inside and starting within to really recognize the damage that's been done, and then starting to look at what are all the different areas that I need help, support, and recovery around. And for example, they could be being stalked electronically. With many of our survivors, all of their electronics have been compromised, and often their partner will say, here, let me install this program for you, or let me help you with this, or they find ways to hack into their email, their phone, and before you know it, everything is compromised. So that's another piece of the safety planning, gaining that control back.
I don't recall where it was, but someone said, women who enter this program, get rid of all your devices and all your emails so that they can't be used to track you. Is that accurate? Or
we live in this age of technology. One thing that might be worth considering is getting a burner phone, and we've been blessed to have some wonderful funding. We get funding from the Board of Supervisors, from the City of Cupertino, Los Altos City Council, and El Camino Hospital, Sequoia Hospital, Peninsula Health District, Los Altos Community Foundation, and Los Altos Town Crier. All these wonderful organizations help us because we don't charge for our services. And if a lady is in need of a burner phone, for example, we could get a burner phone to them so they can make sensitive calls, a prepaid phone that their husband doesn't have access to. And we have a whole other set of suggestions for them to cover their tracks as they're reaching out for help.
In the first show, we didn't get time to discuss this, but I wanted to hear a little more about your personal story if you're open with that. Okay with that. How did this come about?
I was a teacher before becoming a domestic violence advocate, and I saw in the course of my experience that there were many children that were suffering in silence. Children are the ultimate political prisoners. My ultimate aim in creating this program is to educate young people so they don't end up getting in a coercively controlling relationship. It is so much easier to get out early than it is once you get in too far, in too deep.
When should this start?
So you learn what your core values are and how to set boundaries. When we graduate from high school, we typically know what the major export is to Bolivia, but do we really know what we're looking for in a partner? How much time do we spend looking for qualities, characteristics, lifestyle, values in a person that we want to spend the rest of our lives with? Oh, is he an attorney or a doctor or a CEO? Is he educated? Is he sophisticated? Does he make me laugh? Does he live in a nice house? Is he upwardly mobile? Those are tip of the iceberg qualifications, but let's dig deep underneath. What are his core values? Is it money, power, sex, winning, revenge? Are those his core values? Only time will tell. Is he trying to sweep you off your feet? Are you feeling dizzy with the amount of attention that he's showing you, but does he not take no for an answer? These are things that will require digging beneath the surface, taking time, maybe even keeping a journal to connect the dots, because otherwise you could get swept far away. Right. So start early.
It sounds to me like this is if I may say, a college course. This is where you're going to identify. To me, high school, the kids are really all over the map in terms of personality. That's my impression. I could be dead wrong. But in college, it starts to settle down. You start to see, what do they do with their free time? Are they willing to make a commitment and do things no matter what anybody else says? Because there's a whole party attitude among college students, university students. You see it all the time. And I find that unrealistic in the long run, but I went through it, many of us went through it, and we grew out of it, but some don't. I've seen a lot of guys who stay in that immature cocoon because, frankly, our culture does not force them to move, does not ridicule them. I just wondered if college is really the ideal if you can truly start at high school and gain traction there.
That's a very good point, Jim. There's no harm in trying, and the earlier we start, we have the higher the chances, perhaps, of planting seeds that may grow to fruition once they get to college. 1 in 5 women will be a victim of sexual assault in college, but 1 in 5 women will also be a victim of domestic violence in college. So
in college?
Yes, in college. So that is fertile ground for education. And so if they can start to, if they haven't already, to learn these early warning signs, it'll keep them safer as well.
Well, Ruth, you've been outstanding. I really, as I said, I appreciate you so much because you're bringing a whole different level of depth to the topics that we normally talk about, which are innovation and what's going on in Silicon Valley. And you're bringing to light a whole area that's there but not exactly visible. So I want to thank you very much for coming in, and I want to say if people want to follow up with you, how should they do that?
Yes, I want to thank you again for the opportunity, Jim. So please feel free to reach out and call us at 833-WOMEN-SV. That's 833-966-3678. Or you can visit our website, www.womensv.org. That's SV for Silicon Valley. Thank you so much, Jim.
Great. Well, I want to wish you every success going forward, and I hope to hear back from you in the future.
Thank you. Hope to be here. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us in this podcast. If you found this conversation insightful, share it with your network, and subscribe to receive notifications of new shows. You can view all the shows at our website, gamechangers.tv. If you like podcasts, you can find us in your favorite podcast app by searching for Game Changers Silicon Valley. We look forward to your continued interest in upcoming shows.